My name is Cyrus Lum. I am the CTO of Clever Robot Labs. Clever Robot Labs is creating a mixed reality content creation platform. The core technology is the ability to use to procedurally lay out virtual experiences to physical spaces. So we're a young company. We're a startup. We're with China Accelerator with the initial funding from SOSV. But of course, as all startups, we could always use more funding. So anyways, that's about the company. I'll talk about myself. I've been doing AR, MR development for about 10 years. Started way back when we were doing fiduciary markers. It looked like QR codes with webcams and things, and then eventually went up to smartphones with IMUs, and then fast forward to the more recent stuff, working with Intel on per-C, which later turned into RealSense, and then with occipital and their structure sensor and bridge engine. And then later on with HoloLens, one of the first on the Wave 1 developers. And then been working with Google Tango for 2 years. So after working with all these different technologies, I started developing my own idea of where things should go with AR and MR. And the thing that inspired me really was, you know, the show Star Trek, Next Generation to be exact, the Holodeck. How many of you have heard of the Holodeck from Star Trek? Yeah? A lot of people here, right? That's a magical place on the Starship Enterprise where you could go in there and it could turn into a Western saloon. And you could have a cowboy walk in. You could live out this experience in this physical world. You could sit on the chair. You could interact with the virtual characters. That was something that I wanted. And I think that's something that a lot of people think about when they think about VR, that kind of experience, something that has that solid feel to it. So to do that kind of holodeck, I was thinking of, at the time, I know XR is being thrown around a lot. I was calling it XR as cross reality, this ability to go through and have this physical experience along with the virtual. Also, to do that, I was thinking about what were the ingredients from all these past technologies that I could use and grab and to put together to create this experience. So the first thing is VR, right? VR is a fantastical, immersive experience. You can, for example, in the movie Wizard of Oz, you could be in this fantastic place, but you're actually really asleep. So you could be anywhere. With AR, most AR now is done on a smartphone. It's very mobile, very convenient. You could take that experience anywhere with you. And then, of course, there's mixed reality, the ability to anchor your virtual objects to a physical object. So that gives you that kind of relationship between the virtual and the real. So taking all that together, mixing all those ingredients together, what does XR, cross reality, what can we expect from that? Well, the first thing is that it is very spatially aware. You would incorporate the physical space in the virtual. So that would include being able to scan. And because you're including the physical in the virtual, you have the ability to touch the virtual objects, and they should feel solid. It's something that you could sit on. Maybe I'm looking at a chair, and then my revisualization of the chair might be a throne or something like that. But I could still sit in that chair. Again, it's trying to achieve that feel for the holodeck where it really feels like a physical place. And because we have the spatial awareness, because we're using the physical area, the virtual characters that inhabit this virtual experience, they know how to navigate around in the virtual world, but also in the real world. So like this velociraptor in Jurassic Park, he could navigate around and maybe chase you in maybe your own house. Maybe that's not so fun, but it could be exciting. Of course, we want this experience to happen anywhere, so it needs to be portable. I don't know if you guys know where this is from. This is Michael J. Fox, and I think Back to the Future. That's what AR looked like for them. And then because we want to be portable, whoops, hold on for a second. Well, because we want to be portable, we want to be able to work in any arbitrary space. So I guess we could start moving on. So let's see what that looks like. All these ideas, all these indications of what the cross reality is. Let's see what that looks like. And if you could turn down the volume a little bit, that'd be great. So you can see here, I'm just walking around a public storage facility. Actually, this is down in San Jose. And it's instantly turning this into like a haunted house. No pre-scanning, I'm just walking around. And it's taking in the physical environment and now using that to inform this virtual experience. I'm looking around this hotel room. And now we can see I'm looking at the bed, and it sees the bed. It detects, it understands what a bed is, and switches it with some other revisualization. Something just shot at me, and that's actually a virtual character, a turret. And because we know where things are in the physical space, it puts it behind the bed where it could take cover. We did a fun little experiment when I went to the Shanghai Art Museum and decided to turn the world into the world of Minecraft. You can see we detect people, and the people are driving these virtual people around. So you could really start reskinning your real world to something else. And not only is it just about putting virtual items in the physical world, but interaction. You could play in here. We're mining diamonds and stuff like that, adding blocks. Again, we're detecting people and allowing the people to drive things. I don't know this guy. Actually, nobody knew I was doing this stuff. The security guard was looking at me going, what is going on here? And then great, we can detect all these people coming in and you get the crowd. I think VR with human interaction, even if they look different, is still pretty interesting. You don't feel so alone. This last example is just another style, doing something that's more of a sword and sorcery. We've got the sorceress that once you're able to go and deal with her, she'll launch this troll. It goes crashing through and you could break up the walls and everything like that. This troll understands the space, so it's going to run around on the outside, and we can see how we turn people into knights, and they'll start walking around, things like that. Right now you're looking at more of a mixed reality, right? We could see the real, the physical space behind the virtual, but now we're going to start to transition so we could be a full VR experience, but it's still spatially bound, physically bound. And there we go. I think that's the end of the video. You could switch it back. Great. So with this example, we're able to see that the XR really is a spatially aware experience. Tactile presence is a big part of this. When you see a wall in this cross-reality experience, it really is a wall. You could touch it, you could feel it. Again, if you see a chair in this experience might be a throne, but you could still sit in it, okay? Because you incorporate the physical with the virtual, you have mobility without the hazards. Right now with VR, you actually have to clear out a room. You can't just have things there, otherwise you're going to run into them. Because the physical is incorporated with the virtual experience, you see everything, so you can navigate around. Spatial understanding in arbitrary spaces, we saw how people were walking around. We could detect that. You can move chairs around And you can see that change in the virtual environment. You could take the chair. Let's say we turn this into a pirate's kind of a holodeck kind of thing. And now the chairs are cannons. So now you could take the chairs, move them into place, and use that to aim at the enemy ship. So it kind of brings you back to when you were a kid and you were playing make-believe with all the furniture in your home when you were growing up. And this last thing, subtraction is magical. I was an amateur magician, and one of the things out of my bag of tricks that people really love was when I was able to make things disappear. In the video, you might have noticed that maybe in the hotel room, not everything was being turned into stuff. You could selectively decide whether you want to detect or ignore various objects. So you could clean out rooms. You could really change things. And when you could subtract things, people really, it becomes a magical experience. So how does all this work? Well, we're using Google Tango technology, specifically Fab2 Pro, Lenovo Fab2 Pro. And it's a smartphone that has a 3D sensor, specifically a time-of-flight sensor. So we use the depth data that comes out of the sensor, and we go and do all of our processing to that depth data to figure out what are walls, ceiling, floors, do all our segmentation, and then be able to match the virtual items together. So when we talk about cross-reality, the idea that you could do this anywhere, in any room, and then the experience will change and flow, that's kind of difficult, right? Because traditionally, to create a virtual experience, most times you'll have your virtual object, whatever that's going to be, and you're just going to place it wherever you want it to be. And then because a VR experience isn't spatially aware, they got to clear out the room, but they could go wherever you put it. Because objects are now tied to physical objects, virtual objects are tied to physical objects. There could be a situation where I'm in a room where there are no tables. Then what happens? Or the walls are very big, or there are different configurations. As a designer, how can you predict the future to know where to put things? Well, that's where there needs to be a new design pattern. And we call this responsive experience design. What you're doing now, instead of specifically placing an object somewhere, you're actually giving this object rules. So this object might have a rule that it can only go on horizontal surfaces. If it goes on vertical, that's gonna be bad. And maybe this horizontal surface has to be so big, maybe even so tall. So as you give these objects these hints, then the system that's bringing in this depth data can start to match up the depth data with these hints to start figuring out how to procedurally lay out the experience to match whatever different arbitrary space you have. So again, one of the last things here is that that procedural, you're using essentially AI, an AI solver that tries to figure out how to rectify where tables and chairs are and put virtual elements so they match up. So let's talk about use cases. Of course, entertainment is a big thing. I've been talking about, all these kinds of, pirate ships and all that stuff. I could turn this room into the world of Harry Potter. This is Hogwarts. Since we know where that door is, Dumbledore can walk in through that door and decide to give us a magic lesson right here. I think that's pretty interesting. The other thing is education. I could be a social studies teacher and turn the room into an archaeological dig site in Egypt. And maybe this corner of the room might represent the Nile. So the students can go over here and take a look at the pottery that's here. And maybe that corner of the room can represent some other civilization. So you can make a very compelling spatial experience. Oops, here we go. Retail. You could take your room, your kitchen, and turn it into your favorite store. Maybe it's Fendi or Banana Republic or something like that. And the thing is, your counters would now be in the style of the store and have product on there. It could be shoes, it could be clothes, it'd be interesting that you could actually go shopping in the comfort of your own home with the configuration of your own home. You know, part of retail is actually that emotional connection, that physical connection. So this might be a way of being able to bring that back. And then last, training. Firefighters often train with these test buildings. Well, this kind of technology can take that test building and turn it into an office space or turn it into a residential space with varying levels of visible obstruction to try different things out. So again, cross-reality, I really do feel that the idea that you have a spatially aware virtual experience, something you could walk around in, you could touch, you could feel solid, I think that's very compelling. And I really do believe that that really is that future in AR and MR, combining all that stuff together. And I guess the X now matches what everybody else is saying, which X pretty much means everything. It brings all the whole continuum together to become maybe one experience. So if you're interested in hearing more about XR, here's my contact information. Our technology, we're actually going to be doing a beta of this in August, where we're allowing people to come in and start playing around with the technology and see what kind of worlds they want to create, live in, and play around with. Again, we're also a young startup, so you know we're always looking for funding. If you want to talk to us about how you could be a part of this, that'd be great too. But I think that is my talk. Thank you very much for your patience and coming out to hear about XR.